Ladies and gentlemen, I have a trade to announce. The Vegas Golden Knights acquire Jack Eichel in a third-round pick in exchange for Alex Tuch, Peyton Krebs, a conditional first, and a second-round pick in 2023. What? What happened? I gotta talk about it. I got lots of things to say to you guys. But before we hop into it, as always, if you guys are new to the channel, let me know if you get subscribed. Like the video if you enjoyed. Let's get talking about this. So there's a few things I would like to talk about. A few things from Vegas's point of view, a few things from Buffalo's point of view. Let's start off with Buffalo. First of all, there's people saying Buffalo got fleeced and Buffalo got robbed Jack Eichel. I disagree with that take. Obviously, in a perfect world, yes, they got absolutely robbed. But the point is, Jack Eichel was not going to play for the Buffalo Sabres. Jack Eichel was pretty much already not a Buffalo Sabre. He had that in his mind. The organization already knew that. If they didn't trade him today, he wouldn't have played another game for the Buffalo Sabres. He would have just sat on the bench, which actually would have been very interesting. And at some point, they would have just traded him for nothing, pretty much. But considering a player that was not going to play for them ever, he's making $10 million for another 5 years or something. You can't just sit on that, and they finally bit and made a trade. And I think what they actually got, considering what they could have been dealt, is actually pretty good. If you think about it, the fact that this team had to pretty much take the best available deal from a team is tough. Like if it was just Vegas in the mix, and let's say Calgary was not in the mix at all, Vegas could have offered them, I'll give you a first and Peyton Krebs. And Buffalo would have said, no deal. They would have sat on it, months would go by, and they probably would have turned around and been like, all right, deal, let's get this done. And they get even less. So the fact Calgary was in on this just kind of makes them get a little bit more than what they honestly could have. They could have gotten nothing, pretty much. Like, nothing. But they're actually getting some pretty solid picks. The fact they have a third-round pick thrown in there, though, is kind of mind-boggling to me. That kind of just adds to what I was saying. The fact that they didn't have a lot of options. They pretty much took what Calgary offered and what Vegas offered and said, one of you guys give me your best offer. And that's what they accepted. And they accepted the Vegas Golden Knights. Like I said, in a perfect world, they got fleeced. Like, in a normal world where he is playing normally for the Buffalo Sabres, this is not enough. But for the situation Buffalo's in, I think it's a pretty decent trade. We look at it from the Vegas Golden Knights, and now I got some major worry for the Vegas Golden Knights now. They had cap issues before, and now they bring in someone who's making $10 million for the next 5 years. Yes, they cover a hole in their lineup that they needed filled bad, and that's their center position. So that's good. They have their center position locked up for the future. That's fantastic. What I'm worried about is they have no future. They traded this year's first-round pick, which is a conditional pick. So if Vegas continues to fall off, like they're not playing very, very well now, say they miss the playoffs and it's above a 10th round pick, it stays to Vegas. If it's an 11th, it goes 11th or later, it goes to the Buffalo Sabres. Now that was an interesting deal to me, that Vegas would choose to give up this year's first round pick, even with the condition, opposed to next year, where they will have Jack Eichel full time, and that pick next year will probably be a later pick. Like this year, let's say hypothetically they miss the playoffs. What if their pick's 11th overall? They're giving away 11th overall pick, but then next year with Jack Eichel and their team, they could make the playoffs, and then it could be a 25th overall pick. Who knows? So that was definitely interesting. I think that was just a gamble Buffalo wanted to take. If it is top 10, that's good for Vegas. They get to grow their prospect pool, which is something I want to talk about. Vegas has no prospect pool. Their best prospect coming up, at least in my mind, was Peyton Krebs. They traded that. They potentially traded a first-round pick this year. They traded a second for next year. And they traded Alex Tuch, who is also just like an OG Vegas Golden Knight. It's interesting to me that trade. I for sure thought it would have been somebody like Riley Smith maybe, or somebody a little bit older who's making roughly the same amount of money, opposed to somebody who's younger like Alex Tuch, who is a rare commodity in the NHL. Someone with that speed and that skill and that size is hard to find in the NHL. And I just think of Alex Tuch playing with Dylan Cousins and Peyton Krebs in Buffalo. That's exciting. That is exciting stuff for Buffalo. That could be a really, really hard line to play against. But as far as, like I was saying with Vegas, they might run into some cap issues. It could be interesting. They got a lot of older-ish, mid-30s players, and it's like, or even early 30 players, and it's like, what's Vegas's future now? Like, I feel like Vegas is in it for the win. If they don't, they're going to have a real slow rebuild, in my opinion. Like, they could run into a situation like Buffalo's in right now, and Jack Eichel could be on the team, and they could just have no crazy prospects, and they're just losing year after year after year to build those prospects. It'll be interesting to see what their future holds. As of right now, if they get Jack Eichel back this year, I don't know if they will, but if they do, they're a serious contender. They just have to make it to the playoffs, and they're going to be a good team. They're going to be a good team next year. I honestly like the trade for both teams. Like I said, the cap issue for Vegas could be interesting, but they definitely filled a void and a hole that they needed. And Jack Eichel, in my opinion, when he plays a season which we have not seen in a long time, he is one of the best, and he is worth $10 million in my opinion when he's playing good. He's easily a point per game player, maybe even more, maybe even 100 points. Like, he's a good player, especially on Vegas if he's playing with Pacioretty, like, and Stone. Like, say no more. That's going to be a nasty line there. But I just want to give you guys my thoughts. I think it's honestly a win-win. I think it's actually a pretty fair deal, considering the circumstances and everything. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Who won the trade? What do you guys think about the trade, about the teams after the trade? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you're new to the channel, I'd love if you guys subscribed, like the video if you enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.